In 2016, Amazon put a humble kitchen gadget on sale for a single day. It sold 215,000 of them. The entire stock gone. 7 years later, the company that made it filed for bankruptcy with more than $500 million in debt. Here's the part nobody saw coming. It didn't fail because people stopped wanting it. It failed because the product was too good. This is the story of the Instant Pot, and how a beloved cooker that worked perfectly got buried by a loan stapled to its back. Let's get into it. To understand the fall, you first have to understand how big this thing got. It started with a man who had just lost his job. Robert Wang, an engineer in Ottawa with time on his hands and an idea. Instead of looking for new work, he spent his savings and 18 months building a better pressure cooker. In 2009, he founded a tiny company called Double Insight. No factory of his own, no advertising budget, no retail deals. Just one product, sold on Amazon, that happened to be really good. And it spread the way only great products do. Word of mouth. Reviews. Wang later said he had personally read all 39,000 of them. Then came Amazon Prime Day. In 2016, they sold out completely, 215,000 units in a single day. In 2018, they broke their own record, around 300,000 cookers in 36 hours. It became a phenomenon. There were fan clubs, Facebook groups, millions strong, whose members called themselves potheads. People didn't just own an Instant Pot, they evangelized it. And by 2020, as the world locked down and everyone started cooking, the category peaked at around $758 million. It looked unstoppable, and that is exactly where the trap was hiding. Because the Instant Pot had a flaw, not a defect, the opposite of a defect. It was too well made. Think about it. You buy one, it lasts for years, it never breaks, so you never need to buy a second one. A clever razor company sells you a cheap razor, then expensive blades forever. The Instant Pot was all razor, no blades. There were no refills to sell, no subscription. The cookbooks and accessories never added up to a real repeating business. So once nearly everyone who wanted one had one, the math quietly flipped. There was almost no one left to sell to. And when the pandemic cooking boom faded, demand didn't gently dip, it fell off a cliff. Industry-wide, multi-cooker sales dropped by about a fifth in a single year. Instant Brand's own sales fell roughly 22% in one quarter. It was the 7th straight quarter of decline. Now, here's the crucial part. A slow, predictable slide like that is usually survivable. You shrink, you adapt, you ride it out. Instant Brands could not ride it out. And to understand why, you have to leave the kitchen and open the balance sheet. In March 2019, a private equity firm called Cornell Capital merged Instant Brands into another company it owned, Corel, the maker of Pyrex and Corningware. The combined deal was valued at around $615 million. On paper, a kitchen empire. For 2 years, it was quiet. And then, in April 2021, came the decision that would quietly end the company. The owners had the business borrow $450 million, a brand new loan. And a large chunk of that borrowed money didn't go into the business. It went out of it as a dividend paid to the owners themselves, roughly $245 million, handed to shareholders, funded by debt. There's a name for this on Wall Street, a dividend recapitalization. The owners get paid back early, and the company is left holding the bill. And this particular bill had two dangerous features. It was rated junk, and its interest rate floated. Floating means the cost isn't fixed. If interest rates rise, your payments rise with them, automatically. In 2021, with rates near zero, that felt almost free. It was, in effect, a bet that money would stay cheap forever. It didn't. Starting in 2022, the Federal Reserve raised rates from near zero to over 5%, the fastest hikes in decades. And the company's interest bill climbed right along with them. On that mountain of debt, payments ran toward an estimated $50 million a year. Now put the two halves of the story together. Sales were falling, 7 straight quarters of it, and the cost of the debt was rising. Shrinking business, carrying a growing loan, there is really only one place that ends. On June 12, 2023, Instant Brands filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and the filing laid the wreckage bare, around $512 million in debt. And in the first quarter of that year, the entire business had generated just $17.9 million in cash. So let's do what we do here. Let's autopsy it. What actually killed the Instant Pot? Start with the number that matters most: $512 million of debt against just $18 million of quarterly cash flow. That is not a company that's struggling. That is a company that is already drowned and simply hasn't sunk yet. The debt was never survivable, not at those interest rates, not with sales in free fall. Now the off-ramp, the moment it could have gone differently. April 2021. The choice to borrow $450 million and send much of it out the door as a dividend. And the warning was right there, in writing. The loan was rated junk. It floated with interest rates. The credit raters noted it left the company almost no cushion. A cautious owner had a clear alternative: keep the company lightly borrowed, hold the cash, and let it glide through the downturn. Instead, the money was borrowed, the dividend was paid, and the company was left exposed to every rate hike that followed. So here is the verdict. The Instant Pot didn't break. It never broke. The cooker was fine. It is still on shelves today. What broke was the loan stapled to it. This was not a product failure. It was a balance sheet failure. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because we have performed this exact autopsy before. Red Lobster, a perfectly good restaurant chain, was bought by a private equity firm that sold off its real estate and saddled it with $200 million a year in rent. Same pattern. A healthy business buried under the debt its owners loaded onto it. Different industry, different decade, the identical cause of death. Because here is the uncomfortable lesson these stories keep teaching us. When the people who own a company can get paid whether the company wins or loses, the company is already in danger. The Instant Pot cooked dinner for millions of families. It worked exactly as promised. It just couldn't outrun the loan. If you want more stories like this, fortunes built and fortunes buried, that's the whole channel. Subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. And tell me in the comments, what really killed the Instant Pot? The fact that it was too good to ever rebuy, or the dividend its owners borrowed against it? I genuinely want to know what you think.